All right, I'm expressing myself today on the Sci-Fi Express lane, and kind of in response to a conversation. Like all this stuff is responses. Golly, don't I ever think of some stuff on my own? But anyway, today's like a response to a conversation that I had with a couple of people. One of them was my daughter-in-law. Shout out. I know she watches every once in a while, but I'll make sure I tag her in this. And we were talking about reading sci-fi. I've been on this tip kind of since I started. It's going to be a major premise in my book about Black people writing sci-fi and the big questions that we ask, and also now kind of looking at the readers, right? So what started the thought, or rehashed the thought, was I had read a book when I was out in Colorado on Philip K. Dick. And he's the writer of Minority Report, Total Recall, and Blade Runner. And I read my Blade Runner comic series Origins, and I got to get to 49 when school lets out in 2 weeks, and I'm going to read that. And I read a book of his short stories, and I picked it up in the Barnes and Nobles, and I looked through it, and I read his introduction. And his introduction was pretty much a rant about what sci-fi is and what sci-fi isn't. And he started outlining sci-fi is scientific exploration. And if it's not that, then it's fantasy and is not needed, right? It's trash, So he was in the position of trashing Star Wars, many of the Star Treks, because they didn't answer a what if question. Now, I had seen a documentary on Octavia Butler's book, Parable of the Sower. And in that book, she parodies she explores the post-apocalypse and what causes the end of the world. And she said that she was writing to answer another writer's description of what science fiction was, and that was, what if this goes on and if this happened, or something. It's the what ifs, right? I got to look it up because they're all very similar, but they're all different angles at answering questions. And when I think about Philip K. Dick's books, Blade Runner, that's a what if, we did make robots, and what if they had consciousness? How would they handle being terminated? How would they handle mortality? And in the first one, a robot goes rogue and tries to get eternal life and continuous existence. And of course they feel superior to humans, right? Of course, Minority Report, their answer, what if we develop technology to determine who's going to commit a crime? Now, I was looking at this Texas shooter, and today they just revealed that he had texts out where he was sending a message to a young lady in Germany about he was going to shoot up some school. I'm about to go out and do it. And 11 minutes later, they get a call from the school. So you wonder if the technology to determine those things are around the corner. Now, it may not look like the way Philip K. Dick predicted it, but nevertheless, sometimes the technology is not fully developed exactly the way the sci-fi writer speculates, but in some shape, form, or fashion, it gets there. So it made me think, right? So let me bring it back. So then I was talking to my daughter-in-law, and she was talking about, the similarities in sci-fi, just like all of sci-fi. Oh, it's this, why don't we do something new? And I think there's a little bit of ignorance, right, to all of us in terms of all of the stuff that has been done. So she's black, reveal, I'm black, right? So to us, that question is sort of valid. But then on the larger scale, it may not be valid because there were so many topics explored in the early years of sci-fi that a lot of us black people didn't really read. Now, of course, in the 60s, I wasn't around to be reading, and certainly my daughter-in-law wasn't around to be reading, but it's not to say that these books aren't still on the shelves, and it's not to say there weren't black people around at the time to have read those books. Why do I say those books, right? Well, we do have a dominant paranormal theme going on now. We got zombies, we got you can count the types of popular genres in science fiction now. There's few, I made posts and people have talked about is sci-fi dead because of we're living in the future that people wrote about, and we can't imagine a future beyond the future that we're having now. That's not true, right? That's not true. So I don't know. I just think we're in a period where writers of diversity have to take the mantle. We have to take the torch. I titled this, are Black Sci-fi Fans 60 years behind? And when I say that, we're looking at the 1950s and the 1960s books that came out in sci-fi. And I put some of them up, I talk about Starship Troopers, Robert Heinlein. Now, mind you, this is not a scientific study. This is just books that I like or stories that resonated with me, right? Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers. We're mining so far out of space, we encounter space bugs, space aliens. There's no other people in the space, they just stand straight, and these aliens are able to fight us back, hurling their spores through asteroids, and they are able to attack Earth that way. And, we're facing a battle out in space, all right? And it's a lot of politics. It's probably my favorite sci-fi story. Then you have I, Robot, which explores the 3 laws of robots that Asimov gave his robots in his robot trilogy or series, right? That is something that still hasn't happened yet. How will we govern AI, right? Sure, there's remakes of iRobot that can be made, and Will Smith made the best one, so he shut it down. But is that the only way to approach artificial intelligence? Is there black robots? Is there black people that would design robots? Would they come up with the same 3 laws? I know I didn't, and I know I wouldn't, and I haven't really fully explored that yet, but I'm gonna have to do something because I don't know. Do we just think AI doesn't need a governing morality or laws? Maybe not. That might be a thing, I like Chappie. I liked other AIs that have come to life that, like Data. I don't think he's governed by the 3 laws. So the 3 laws might be something that is presumptuous, right? Then you have Foundation, and I'm going to forget who wrote that, but I'll probably put them in the post when I post this, right? But Foundation came out as a series just a little while ago, right? And Foundation is talking about the end. A mathematician comes up with the calculated end of humanity based on how many wars we have, domestic violence, the earth, overpopulation, just wars, really not dealing with any other natural disasters. How man will go to war, what's the probability of the next world war, and how much worse will it be, and how long will it continue to get worse? And that is the Foundation, and that's a book from the early times. It's so sad I can't think of all of the other ones. I know Dune was one of the ones that I put up there. Dune is also kind of a parody. It reminds me of David Weber's on Ballistic Station, the Hannah Arrington series. But in Dune, you're almost parodying what the European explorers went through when they were trying to find trade routes to get same thing, spice from China. And we know that there's, sure, they need oregano, they need garlic and all that other stuff. But in reality, spices like ginger are not just for flavor, right? So spices are the base elements for medicine. So when they were traveling around the world, Henry Hudson and all these other explorers, they were looking to get medicine to cure themselves from the Black Plague. Now, that's not really in Dune, the importance and the urgency of them getting spice, but it does deal with a planet and the people on the planet with spice. I think that is another story that inspired James Cameron's Avatar, because on Avatar they have unobtainium, which is a mineral, and that is a modern thing that we've been attacking and raiding. Not we, but the Western world has been raiding, and probably the world, Africa for. So there's a parallel there. But in Dune, the big parallel is more the Europeans' exploration of the world, and in Dune they're exploring the planet. Then there's the other one, The Man Who Fell from Earth, and that is running right now. And The Man Who Fell from Earth, I don't even know what all of that is about, right? I do know the planet that the man came from was in peril, and he drinks water to the point where he could almost overdose on it. So there may, he talks about the planet losing its natural resources. So that has become a problem for them on his planet. So that's what he came to Earth for. And there was a sixth book, I can't remember what it was. I know Foundation was one. I know Dune, Starship Troopers, I, Robot, and I got The Man Who Fell from Earth. I don't know what the sixth one was. Anyway, let's say I've outlined enough. What you see in these stories is futuristic exploration, right? And opinions about it. I mean, maybe I could put Independence Day, but Independence Day isn't from the 60s, right? And if I put War of the Worlds, that's not from the 60s, it's older than that. Maybe another story that fits into that is The Day the Earth Stood Still, but I don't know if that is a what do you call it? 50s and 60s book first. I know it was a movie, and that's how I'm familiar with it, but I got to do my research on it. But what I'm saying is mostly with books, right? I'll stay with that medium. We had white writers speculating with freedom, right, about these type of concepts and answering the what ifs. We don't see that now in amongst the diverse community. And we have what do you call it? We've done the Lord of the Rings, we've done the medieval stuff. N.K. Jemisin's has a good series on that. We've seen Star Wars type stuff with Indy Okafor, Tomei. She's got the Children of Blood and Bone. These are excellent books, right? Or they're books that have become published, right? They're out, whether you like them or not. I'm not going to get into all of that, but they're out. But then you go back and you even look within my book selection. You go on Black Science Fiction Society or State of Black Science Fiction and look on Facebook groups, and you look at those writers' selections, And I ask, are we answering these? Are we questioning the future? Are we going there? You understand? I mean, yeah, we talk about Stephen Barnes's Lion Blood series, but that's revisionist history. And sure, there's some things that we can get from that, but futuristic. What if robots to become this? How will we end crime? You know what I'm saying? What is the end of mankind? You know what I'm saying? What if we run out of resources? What if somebody else runs out of resources? Are aliens a threat? Are these questions important to us? I don't know. Maybe my daughter-in-law's generation needs to come up with some questions for us to answer. You know, usually it's the other way around. We are the writers. We got to come up with the questions that people are inspired to have answered. I'm trying to think, and when I read Philip K. Dick's definition, I knew that was a problem for me. I'm trying to solve a lot of that in my Harlem Shake series, but I'm a very genre-driven person. I'm trying to get established as a writer, so I get preoccupied with what I think will sell. And that's where I'm at. So when you look at all of my books, Thug Angel, It Happened on Negro Mountain, Rashida the Zombie Killer, Welcome to Boss Lady's Planet, even Sci-Fi Streets, you don't see any of these questions really answered. Sci-Fi Streets has a story about the Church of God in space, and it kind of parodies and jokes about church and religion, but you know, boom. I have a story coming out called Cannabis Man, and that'll be in my book I Love Sci-Fi, but that is like that's it for me. I have a short story in I Love Sci-Fi, which deals with the ending of AIDS, a way to end AIDS, but it's more like a Hollow Man. It's more like the kids become superheroes based on how fast the immune systems adapt to this treatment. So yeah, it is a sci-fi question, but you know, I'm going full Marvel and DC with it. Well, let's give it Stan Lee and Marvel, because Marvel experimented with the mutants more. But anyway, I'm over time. This is crazy because all my other videos was down under time. So anyway, I'm over time. Let's see. Let's talk about it. Like, share, comment, subscribe. All right. Black Sci-Fi Fans, 60 years behind other sci-fi fans. Peace.